Alright, so today I wanted to talk about a question I received on Twitter regarding player death and how to handle them. My friend Callan said, quote, I have an idea. What if instead of killing PCs in D&D every time a character dies, the group must do a one-page dungeon, maybe even a one-shot, to bring back the character? That is, if the game has permadeath mechanics. End quote. To which I replied, 1, I think groups should do whatever they find most fun. And before I move on, I think that part is key. This is a game, and if your group finds one-page dungeons fun, then you should definitely do that. I'm not into telling anyone how they must have fun. This is just my opinion, and you should do what works for you and your group. Moving on. 2. I stopped watching shows that continually bring characters back from the dead for the same reason I'd likely never implement this idea in my own games. If I were a player in such a group, I'd likely lose interest and leave. So, this part I wanted to expand upon a little bit. My favorite games are games where there's tension. Right now I'm running Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, 5 Torches Deep, and a Lady Blackbird campaign. All of them are wildly different from one another, but my favorite game to run, by far, is 5 Torches Deep. Why? Because it's dangerous. You can feel the difference between how players react to situations in 5e and how they would tackle that same situation in my 5 Torches campaign. I was watching a stream a few weeks ago which really brought this home for me. It was by Twitch streamer and YouTuber Zipper on Disney. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description box. Please check his content out if you're interested. And I also wanted to make this clear. This isn't a criticism of his DMing style or his players in any way. In fact, he's one of my favorite D&D content creators. What I think it is a good example of how 5e often works, because it's a feature of the game. But let's roll the clip so you can see what I mean.
As you guys are sitting there sort of discussing this for a moment, behind a rock or behind a bush, you see a cloud of bats sort of fly in overhead and then into the cavern. The creatures that are there sort of like they jerk up and sort of look at those things. You can see they sort of scrape out and try to scratch across the sky, maybe trying to capture a bat. And you see that its hand has long, sharp-looking claws. The bats fly into the cavern, and slowly you hear them fade.
The claws like that, I doubt this thing wants to talk. We should dispatch it. And quickly.
Yes, you see that there are 4 of them gathered around. 3 of them are sort of milling about, and one of them is hunched over. And it looks like it has tossed aside whatever it was eating and is walking around the bend now.
I'll take on these 3. I think the 3 of us, the rest of you can take on this last one.
Right. Okay, so as you can see, the players encounter some monsters. Now, right before that clip starts, there is a small section where they talk about how they might ambush them if they come close. But right after that, their first instinct is to fight them. And don't get me wrong, this can be fun. I think 5e is more about that power fantasy. You see monsters, you wade in and chop them to pieces or blow them up with magic. It's fairly difficult to die, your character has quite a few hit points, and killing stuff can be a lot of fun. If that's your thing, then 5e will definitely offer that experience to you. If I were to run this same scenario in my 5 Torches campaign, I think it would look a lot different. I think the players would have scouted out the area more, tried to determine if the monsters were intelligent and or evil, looked for environmental factors that might help them win a fight if it came to that, tried to avoid a fight if they could achieve their objective without it, and so on. Because in 5 Torches, you have a handful of hit points, using magic is risky, and can result in severe consequences to the magic user, and combat is fast, dirty, and dangerous. Players are actively trying to trick their adversaries, tuck their way past fights, or looking for any advantage that will give them the upper hand in a combat situation. They're worried for their safety, and we've played whole sessions where there is no physical combat. Now, that doesn't mean there's never any combat, because there is. When there is, it's resolved pretty quickly. 1 to 5 hits and the monster or player is likely dead. In 5e, you have plenty of opportunities to be healed by a spell or by potion. In 5 Torches, magic is wild, and gods are fickle. If a cleric rolls a natural 1 while casting a spell, they suffer some sort of consequence. Sometimes they lose their powers for a certain amount of time. If they're using a potion, a natural 1 means it fails. Players can't rely on magic, although when it works it can change the whole encounter in your favor super quick as well. And they're left relying on their wits more often than not. They also can't rely on having enough hit points to weather numerous blows. In other words, it's a much different sort of feeling to play 5 Torches than it is to play 5e. Now, both can be fun. I personally love both systems, and I'm not trying to put down 5th edition. But I much prefer 5 Torches because I like the gritty realism, the danger. I like watching players try to figure out alternate solutions, roleplay themselves out of danger, and not always start out with the assumption that they can fight their way out of any situation. No joke, when my 5 Torches group open a new door, they'll often take a deep breath because they're worried about what might be on the other side. Their weapons and spells in many cases are a last resort. They've had their share of combat, but it's not something they run towards to warm their dice up, because combat is dangerous and it can have consequences. When you take away the possibility of death in a campaign or give players a known take-back, in my opinion, you make it less interesting. Yes, I've run campaigns where players resurrected another player. I've sent them on quests to bring back another player from the dead. But not often, and today me wouldn't really consider it unless the player was high level. In most cases, a god isn't going to bend the rules for a first level character. A second level character isn't going to have the means or the connections to get someone brought back from the dead. For a game to be interesting to me, I have to be able to lose. There's little or no emotional impact when there's an easy, or even not so easy but accessible, escape clause. As George R.R. Martin once said, Tolkien's biggest mistake was bringing Gandalf back from the dead, and I agree with him. His death had immediate emotional impact, which was ruined to a great extent when he came back as Gandalf the White. He should have stayed dead. And the same goes for players, in my opinion. I try to be fair as a DM. I genuinely root for my players. I want them to win. I want them to be successful. And I hate killing off a character. But I also roll out in the open, and if the dice don't go their way, then there's a possibility they might die. And there's no one-page dungeon get-out-of-jail-free card on the other side of it. However, there's an opportunity to play another character and continue to have fun in our collaborative world. Maybe I'm a hard ass, and I know my style of game isn't for everyone, but those are my thoughts. Please feel free to leave your thoughts below. Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section. I promised another commenter that I'd make a video about the changes our group made to the 5 Torches rule set, so I plan on doing that soon. I'm also going to review the 5e Hardcore mode book as well. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you all again soon.